So there we have it. We just heard from President Moon Jae-in as well as Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and Chinese Premier Li Keqiang. Now we're going to get an expert's opinion on the Trilateral Summit in Tokyo between those three leaders. Joining me in the studio is Professor Song Se-ryun of Kyung Hee University. Thanks for coming in to talk to us at this time. It's the meeting. It's coming at an opportune time, but also a critical time as well here on the Korean Peninsula. So it's fair to say President Moon Jae-in went into this summit on a high, riding on the wave of the recent Inter-Korean summit. What messages in private do you think he had for the leaders of Japan and China in regards to the current situation with North Korea?
I think that although this is a seventh trilateral summit, we have to think about it in the context of the peace talk with North Korea. So I think that President Moon's communication and emphasis would have been was with a special emphasis on the ongoing and also future talk with North Korea and the roles that China could play and also Japan could play. I think that when it gets down to it, the peace talk with the North Korea has two components to it. One is denuclearization. What is it and how are we going to do it? And the second part is what does the North Korea get out of this in terms of economic cooperation? So if China and especially Japan has kind of reduced role in the first part of it, certainly they will play a very large role in the second part of what North Korea gets in terms of economic cooperation. So I think that that's why both leaders kind of touched upon the economic importance of it in the region and also the roles that three parties play. I think that the three role, I think the President Moon Jae-in would have stressed and also we heard the regular communication going forward is very important. So they're talking about the annualizing this and the next meeting taking place in Beijing.
Well, let's hope that it does happen every year, because we had to wait 2.5 years for this one to take place because of the various tensions between the three sides. Now, the world is abuzz. We're going to get to it shortly with US President Trump pulling the plug on the Iran nuclear deal. Now, Trump's critics are concerned that this move by him could potentially derail the efforts ongoing to denuclearize North Korea. Do you think the leaders there in Tokyo today share those concerns of Trump's critics that, you know, he might have inadvertently caused a big problem here with North Korea?
I think that the concern is there, but it's not unexpected. The President Trump has always talked about his dislikes of the Iran deal, and indeed he pulled out. I think it does really raise the concern that whatever the U.S. president, current president, promises, maybe it's not definite. It's not etched in stone. So some other guy, the president, will come along and nix it. But at the same time, that concern is not really unexpected. I think that's why, especially for the North Korea's point of view, China's role is very important as somebody who would assure that whatever framework or the regime is put in there will be abided by. So I think that the concern is there, but I think that those concerns have been kind of mulled over already.
Right, there was clearly an expectation. Trump had telegraphed his intentions quite clearly through Twitter and in numerous TV interviews that he wasn't happy at all with the Iran nuclear deal, but when we hear him speak about the potential deal with Pyongyang, he seems much more optimistic that he can reach a deal that he's satisfied with, the North Koreans are satisfied with, and also South Korea, Japan and China are happy with.
Remember though that the Trump has continuously shown this penchant that the hardline stances he takes is not to completely pull out from any agreement or the regime, but to get to a better deal. FDA was the same thing, Paris Agreement supposedly is the same design, and this one also. So I think that it's a matter of what kind of the negotiation stance or the preparation that the North Korea and the parties have.
Well, I'm sure after this meeting that President Moon and the leaders of China and Japan will be in close contact with President Trump so they can coordinate what's going on ahead of this big summit between Trump and Kim Jong-un. So sticking with the summit then, President Moon is going to have these one-on-one meetings with Chinese Premier Li Keqiang and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. I'm really keen to hear your thoughts about what the key issues are going to be with both of those specific meetings. Let's start with Japan.
Japan, probably the Shinzo Abe, I think he will stress again about the detainee issues and human rights issues in that context. That's, in a way, at least in the first part of this peace process with the talk with North Korea, it's Japan's sort of a ticket to be on the table to raise the concerns that they have. So the President Moon probably will assure the Japanese Prime Minister that he will raise this issue, or that he will kind of attend to this issue. But I think that President Moon would also talk about what Japan could play in terms of economic cooperation and kind of regional economic regimes. That includes North Korea going forward.
And China then?
China is much more important, I think, because of the talk that North Korea and China had a couple of days ago in Dalian. But also in anticipating the talk between the North Korea and the U.S., probably that the sort of big blowout negotiation table, the role of China is very important, not only for North Korea, who has kind of a white knight in a sense, who they can turn to if Donald Trump presses him very hard, but at the same time, the kind of the assurance or somebody who can critically intervene if the processes or the framework that puts in between the North Korea and the U.S. and, frankly, the world is going through some bumpy processes going forward. So in that sense, it's a very critical role that China could play. And in that sense, South Korea has a very keen interest in what kind of relationship that South Korea and China has vis-a-vis the relationship between the North Korea.
Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but quickly, I'd like to get your thoughts on how successful this upcoming summit between President Trump and Kim Jong-un is going to be. Oh, it's it's something that everybody's looking at. I think the flurry of communications among the nations and also between within the countries. I mean, the U.S. there's a lot of moves. So I think both parties are being prepared for it, and they're anticipating some sort of a big deal out of this. It's important for North Korea and important for Donald Trump in anticipation for upcoming elections, right? So I think there's something will get done. That's my hopeful and also kind of desperate plea for those countries. But I think the devil is in the details, and the more flurry of communications I see and moves I see, I'll feel better that they're getting ready for any kind of eventualities. Well, it's much better now that the sides are talking. We're not hearing fire and fury anymore, or Little Rocket Man or anything like that. Right. So there is hope for the future. I think the majority of people are feeling rather optimistic, especially compared to how we were feeling several months ago, where there was a feeling that things were getting a little bit dicey here on the Korean Peninsula. Well, Professor Song, as always, we appreciate your insights, and we'd love to have you come back in the near-term future. Thanks very much.
Thank you.